On April 30th in 2009, on the website Something Awful, yes, that's the actual website's name, user created a thread about how he usually makes paranormal images as his hobby, using Photoshop. And he wanted to create a little thread for people to share paranormal or horror-themed Photoshop images. The user, Victor Surge, created these images and named the creature the Slender Man. And it took off across the internet. I'm pretty sure you already know who this is. Like, why did I even make this intro? But it took off and became very popular. Countless fan-made images, horror stories, video games, creepypastas. You guys remember creepypastas, right? Or am I too behind with the times? What does the generation say nowadays? Phantom tax. God, I don't fucking know anymore. But he was a very popular thing on the internet, and while I can't remember the person who said the quote, he was by all means the internet's boogeyman. People added more and more theories and their own personal lore to him, such as how he had proxies or how he could distort your memory and give you this illness called the Slender Sickness. That's so fucking dumb. And for a while, popularity did die out, which makes sense. Anything popular becomes unpopular. And the fan base for Slender Man and stuff depicting him gradually became smaller and smaller. And eventually, something happened that more or less killed what little fan base was left. On May 31st in 2014, out in Waukesha, Wisconsin, during a game of hide-and-seek, two girls decided to pin down another girl and stab her over 19 times in total across her arms, legs, and torso. When later asked why they did this, they said they wanted to become one of the proxies of Slender Man. This created quite a big debate about what kids see on the internet. It's called "Take care of your kids, don't leave an iPad in front of their face." Thank you, my mother, for leaving her computer in the living room so she could see if I was watching really weird shit and yell at me. Shout out to my mom for that. It helped me not be as mentally ill. I'm sorry about that rant, but it's like whenever parents play video games or TV shows or movies for violence, it's like, my brother in Christ, you bought your kid the game. Read the age warning. I'm sorry for that rant. I just fucking hate parents who do that. Shout out to my mom for not being one of those parents. But anyway, after this, the Slender Man fan base, and by all means his popularity as this boogeyman on the internet, died out. He wasn't popular anymore, and often when you said you like Slender Man, people would associate you with the stabbing and probably call you a fucking psychopath. And the final nail in the coffin was the film that came out in 2018. Oh my god! Words can't describe just how shit this film is. It was, by all means, the final nail in the coffin for Slender's popularity. And nowadays, I forget the damn dude exists. One day, I was on the internet, and I heard of a series called Marble Hornets that had quote-unquote Slender Man in him, but it's not. I'll explain it later. And so I decided, alright, I'll watch it. And so I spent 2 days watching season 1 and 2, and then the next day watching season 3. And compared to that shitty 2018 film, this is a fucking masterpiece. So before we delve into this series itself, there's a few things I want to set up. Firstly, this is not technically Slender Man. I know that's weird, but let me explain. Before the invention of AI art, people actually used to fucking give a shit about copyright. And so to avoid copying Victor Surge's work, they named the character the Operator. By this time, Slender wasn't as popular. I mean, shit, this was literally made, like, not too long after the actual Something Awful post. Literally, the actor for Jay, who was one of the directors, just went up to the guy who plays Alex, Joseph, and said, "Hey, nobody's made videos about Slender Man. What if we did that? Oh, that's a cool idea." And that's basically how the series came to be. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the name Operator sounds 50 times more scarier than Slender Man. Like, the Operator. That just sounds scarier in my opinion. I don't know why. If there's one key difference, he doesn't have tentacles. Everybody draws him with tentacles. He don't got those in this. Next up, there are no such things as proxies. Proxies are this idea in the Slender internet canon that Slender has these people who he mind controls to do his dirty work. This series does not have that. Next up, there is lots of shots in this series of basically nothing and characters just walking, and it's pretty much done to make it realistic and build atmosphere. I mean, if they're recording everything, they're recording everything. Funny enough, I've seen people complain about this, but yet the Backroom series by Kane Pixels is praised for this exact thing. Like, what's different? The only difference is in the Kane Pixel ones, they're walking through liminal spaces. In this, they're walking through, like, the woods and apartments and abandoned buildings. There's, like, virtually no difference here. And finally, there is some info that is not explained in the series, but the creators themselves have stated, and I'll bring that up whenever necessary. One last thing, this series does involve some dark topics, mainly involving mental health. So, if that upsets you, fuck off, I guess, I don't know. Also, for these videos, I downloaded uploads of every single season with each episode in one giant video, uploaded by a user named Bacon Freak on YouTube. For some reason, I don't know why, but, like, the exposure is a bit brighter. Like, the darkness and pitch black is not fully pitch black. So to fix that, I'm just gonna lower the exposure a bit. But seriously, thank you, Bacon Freak, for uploading these. Oh my god, like, you don't know how much you saved me the pain of having to download every individual fucking video. Anyway, I'm gonna shut the fuck up now. Let's actually talk about the series. The first video, Introduction, is from our character named Jay. He's pretty much the main character of this series. He states that back in college, him and his friend Alex were making a student film named Marble Hornets. However, Alex ended up scrapping the film, and people who worked with Alex, including Jay himself, noted that Alex, over time, got really, really irrational, rude, and paranoid, and nobody really knows why. After canceling it, Jay asked Alex, "What are you going to do with all the tapes?" Alex responds, "Burn them." Jay himself was a film student and didn't want to see all this work go to waste, so he asked Alex if he could just take the tapes instead of him burning them, and Alex said sure, but asked Jay to promise never ever bring up Marble Hornets again to me. Not too long after, Alex ended up transferring to another school, and Jay has not seen him since. As Jay states, he can't find the exact dates, but all he can say is that it probably took place in the summer of 2006. And Jay himself states he's going to upload what he finds on each tape. And I'm not going to go into detail about every entry.
So that was a fucking lie.
I will point out stuff that's important in most of them. Now, before we dabble onto the mystery of why this film was seemingly scrapped by Alex, let's talk about the people who we got to play in it. Seth and Sarah are two minor characters I want to get out of the way. They're presumably dead from the Operator, and they show up like once or twice. Tim, he's so fucking handsome! Anyway, Tim plays as one of the, I guess you could say, major characters. Tim's friend, Brian, plays as the lead character. Alex and Jay presumably played as other characters in the film, probably because they couldn't get a whole bunch of actors. But anyway, mainly remember these names: Tim, Alex, and Jay. Brian and a character later on named Jessica are also very important, but these are the main three, basically. Anyway, let's go ahead and actually talk about what Jay finds. As Jay goes through the entries, he can see that there's this strange, tall man with no face and what appears to be a suit and tie. Usually, videos with this person seem to have either video distortion or audio distortion. Not only that, but Alex in some of these tapes seems almost paranoid or scared and recording himself seeming like he's on edge. Also, Entry 5 has severe audio distortion so loud that when I first watched it, I actually physically threw my headset off my fucking head. But overall, Season 1 mainly consists of tapes of the actors acting, behind-the-scenes shots of, for some reason, Alex trying to set up like a behind-the-scenes thing of a film he hasn't even finished, and just Alex being paranoid. But throughout a majority of them, in the background somewhere, quietly or subtly, is that tall, strange man. It seems that after whatever this strange tall man did to Alex, maybe out of paranoia, he just became a fucking pain in the ass to work with.
Yeah, act. How about that?
Oh yeah, that's real nice, considering how much you're paying us and everything.
Why would I pay you for what you're giving me? I mean, really?
Oh, that's real nice.
Who else is gonna work with you with this attitude?
Next up, there's a second channel which began uploading videos related to Marble Hornets, named Totheark. This part of the series itself is meant to serve as one of the many ARG aspects, along with the account having a Twitter, which Jay would update. It's never explained who runs the Totheark channel. Perhaps it's the operator, perhaps it's one of his henchmen, we'll get into that later. But it appears that the person uploading it is usually one step behind the main characters. And these videos often are full of really, really cryptic hints that one of them took 4 years to solve after Season 3. We're on Season 1, by the way, still. And this said mystery was in Season 1. Totheark also helped give us a name for this tall being, the Operator. Totheark itself has a lot of references to Noah's Ark, hence the name. Eventually on one tape, it appears the Operator enters Alex's house, and then in the next shot, Alex's head is covered in blood. Also, I forgot to mention this, I'm sorry, but Jay very, very often comments on what's going on in the entries, which I really think is kind of unique, and I kind of wish some ARGs and horror series did it more. Like, it feels weird when you have your character or a person uploading these lost tapes, but, like, they don't comment on it or try to comment on it. But anyway, after seeing this tape of Alex's head covered in blood, Jay states that he really needs to find out where Alex is gone, fearing that he's in danger. In order to do this, Jay finds one of the actors who was in the Marble Hornets film, and is a man who I think is honestly very fucking handsome, Tim. I've been told by my family my taste in men is strange, and I think this is only fueling that fire. Jay tries to, very fucking awkwardly, pry some answers out of Tim. Tim does answer a few questions, mainly that he was only on the film because his friend Brian was in it as well, and Tim just kind of got thrown into it, basically. He also explains he basically doesn't know Alex other than what he experienced with Alex when making Marble Hornets. He suggests that Jay probably go talk to Brian, who Tim himself actually hasn't heard from in a very long time, saying that maybe Brian can help Jay find his answers. In the next entry, Jay states he got from an anonymous source the address to Brian's house. I get the feeling Jay could very easily get his online fucking account stolen. Hey you, anonymous person, thanks for the address. I'm not gonna lie, when I first watched this, I actually just assumed Totheark gave him the address. But upon Jay entering the house, it very clearly is abandoned, and there's trash everywhere, furniture is flipped over. It's very fucking clear that whoever lived here either trashed it and ran, or it's been abandoned for God knows how long. But despite this, it does seem like there is some evidence of people living here, or at least someone living here. Jay seemingly has a very random, violent coughing fit, making him stumble onto his knees. While there, Jay ends up finding some kind of disturbing and questionable things. He ends up finding a sink full of dry blood, some drawings that appear to be made by Alex, a bottle of pills, and a bullet casing. It's very clear Brian is either gone, dead, or has moved, and somebody is living here that is not okay. Strangely enough, those drawings, if they were made by Alex, what was Alex doing at Brian's house? And presuming this filming was done a long time ago, why are the papers still white? Like, I have a bunch of spare papers by my side, and after just about a year or two of not being touched, they eventually start to turn yellow. So how this paper is still white is a bit strange. Jay himself states that he'll come back, and after Jay uploaded this video, Marble Hornets uploaded their own video. You remember that violent coughing spell Jay had? Somebody was in that house with him. This means that whatever's going on with Totheark is most likely a threat. We temporarily cut back to some footage of Tim practicing his lines and whatever, and in the background we can see that the operator is barely visible behind some trees. However, it looks like Totheark doesn't appreciate Jay not coming back, and basically sends a video begging him to come back, with this really creepy voice.
Just wait till we're alone together, then I will tell you something new, something cold, something sleepy, something of seas and beasts and the long, bright curve of space. Banish them, refuse to speak, leave them, go upstairs to your room. I will be waiting for you. I will surround your bed, close the windows. None will ever again be able to enter.
Apparently, this was done by Joseph, the actor of Alex, just wearing a gas mask and talking creepy. Jay decides to go back and see if maybe there was some evidence that he missed while he was there. Also, Jay, being smart, decides to bring a knife with him this time. The house is now seemingly worse. While there, Jay finds a doll that was not there before. And then...
Alex? Alex?
It's now very clear the operator is not the only threat to Jay right now. According to Jay, his camera cuts out, and for some reason, he can't remember what else happened after that. It's like it just escaped his memory. The only thing he recall after this was that he woke up in his car that was off the road in the middle of the day. Everything that happened that night just seemingly vanished from his memory. Jay states that he's starting to regret getting involved with whatever it was that caused Alex to have blood on his head, or whatever caused Marble Hornets to end. The Totheark channel uploads a video stating that Jay, presumably, has been keeping secrets, and in the next entry, Jay states what those secrets are. See, I haven't mentioned it, but on the Twitter account, as the entries have gone over time, Jay has stated on this Twitter account that he's been feeling strange, he's been having insomnia, he's just been feeling really paranoid. This itself is to mainly add to the whole ARG aspect to make it feel a bit more realistic, to show that not everything is exclusively happening on this channel. And Jay decides, as a way to maybe help, mainly with the paranoia part, he records himself. I don't blame him for getting paranoia when seeing a creepy tall man in the background of tapes, and especially after what happened in that last entry. But Jay states that pretty much nothing has happened. Jay states that after this weird glitch affected the camera, he just disappeared from his bed for the next 3 hours of the footage. Jay himself states he did get up at one point, but not for 3 hours. Jay himself pretty much concludes that this person in the mask is most likely the person running that Totheark channel. Jay states that because of all this shit going on, he's been pretty much just living in his house with his doors and windows locked. He's too afraid to go out because of whatever the hell is going on. We get a video from Totheark that may or may not show what happened during that 3 hours. After this, Jay decides to finally look at those items he took from the house. And there's a few strange things. Mainly the pill bottle. In the video, you can hear pills rattling in the bottle. But when Jay opens it, it's empty. Jay states that he seems to have lost the bullet case, or the more likely example, Totheark took it. Jay looks at the papers and notices this strange symbol with a circle and an X in it, which has been seemingly showing up throughout most of the videos. On the back of one of the papers is written, "At the Tower," and it's presumably this tower that Alex and Jay visited when trying to find spots to record. Eventually, we see another tape of what appears to be Alex and Jay just chilling and waiting for Tim to show up to presumably do some behind-the-scenes thing, and it just feels weird with how happy and calm Alex is compared to what else we've seen. And something to note is that when Tim does arrive, he seems to have some really bad cough or cold.
Wow.
Shouldn't have come if he was sick.
I know. You alright, Tim? Need anything?
No, I'm okay.
What's that?
Just some medicine I have to take.
Do you need to go home? Should we cut?
No, I'm fine.
Tim himself takes some pills, which are apparently meant to help him with his cough. And Jay notes that apparently they look a lot like the pill bottles he found at the house. Mate, not every pill bottle is going to look different from the next one. For all we know, he was taking Viagra. Jay decides to finally visit that tower, and while there, finds a tape. The tape itself shows Alex and Seth exploring what appears to be some old abandoned building. While there, they even find some dry blood stains, kind of like what was seen in Brian's house. Eventually, presumably the operator attacks Seth, after which Alex takes the camera and then records himself, presumably in his house.
Seth is gone. I don't remember what happened. We were the only two left, and I left him. Brian is gone. Tim, and Jay, and Sarah. Everyone is gone. I just woke up in this house with the tape. Seth's camera is gone. All I can remember from the night is right here. All I can remember at all is on the tape now. I'm leaving this house. I thought I would be safer here by running away, but everything's just gotten worse. I'm going back to my home, and I'm burning these tapes. All of them.
There's two things I want to point out here that are a bit odd. Firstly, Alex appears to be suffering from the same memory loss as Jay. Does this mean it's some sort of side effect of exposure to the operator? And next up, he says that everyone's dead. Jay, Tim, everyone, but Jay is alive and so is Tim. Is this just simply part of his memory loss, or has he not talked to them in so long that he assumes the operator got to them? Jay now becomes desperate for answers on just what the fuck is going on, and decides for a third time, because, you know, whatever doesn't kill you the first time, will most likely succeed to third. But he is just desperate for answers, and he makes the smart fucking choice of actually going there during the day. Took you long enough. I think after your first visit, you should know no one lives there. While there, he finds that weird doll, now moved again. Upon going to the bathroom, the sink is now perfectly clean. When going into this strange person's room, he finds the pill bottle with pills. Does this mean they took the pills for some reason? Possibly, did they swap it out with an empty bottle, or did they just take the full bottle, pour it into an empty bottle, and then leave the empty one there at Jay's house? I don't know. It's a bit fucking weird. This is honestly the least of our concerns when it comes to this story. Eventually, Jay appears to enter a room, but it's the same bedroom as before. But now the lights are off, and it appears there's no sun shining through the window anymore. But it was just daylight a few seconds ago. Jay appears to hear somebody entering through the house and decides to lock himself in what appears to be the bathroom. But upon turning his flashlight back on, he's in that weird closet-made bedroom. After what appears to be some camera distortion, Jay can hear water dripping. And next thing he knows, he's in that same abandoned building Alex and Seth were in. After that, according to Jay, he woke up the next day in his own home and found that the camera no longer functions as a camera. But luckily, the footage is still intact. Just like normal, Jay does not recall anything other than what was on camera. Whatever happened off camera, he cannot recall. Jay states wisely, he is never returning to that house. He should have done that in the first place, dog. He says he's done, and he doesn't even want answers anymore. He just wants to get out of whatever the fuck is going on. The next episode shows some security cameras that Jay had installed in his home. Also, can I just comment, why does your bedroom have brick walls? Do you live in a fucking prison? And something strange happens. Jay exits through a door, but in the other cameras, the door never even opened. According to Jay, in the footage, he was gone for 2 hours.
We will wait for you to know more. Control is being taken away from you. From the start, it's been a game for us. Not anymore. I'm coming for you, and you will lead me to the Ark.
After that last To the Ark video, Jay decides to stay in a hotel. And in his next video, he learns that his apartment was burnt down. Anyway, a minor deviation off the subject here. What is going on with time and space? Jay just went from the house in the middle of the day to it suddenly being night, and then suddenly the house at night to that abandoned billing, I can't fucking English, man. That abandoned building that Alex and Seth were in. It looks like the operator is somehow able to both erase his memory, seemingly, and seemingly even distort reality. And in the final entry, Jay states that after all this, after losing his apartment, after losing all of his memory, after having to stay in hotels and being stalked, he's done.
In fact, I haven't thought about it in the past week, and frankly, I've been feeling a lot better. My memory's better, I'm not as paranoid, I'm not looking over my shoulder all the time like I used to be. So I think that this is for the best. So this is going to be the last entry that I'll be posting.
Something happened that decided to make him not actually quit. He got a random text from a strange phone number with the numbers 41810, translating to April 18th, 2010. The same day he received the message. As he was leaving the place he was staying, he found something. A box. Within it was a tape, written on the back saying, "Watch this." The footage itself is dated April 4th, 2010. 2 weeks ago.
So when did this happen?
Wait, what happened?
When did we get a camera? Alex, come on.
We don't have a camera.
Yes, we do.
Where did you find that?
It was in the closet. There's a tape already in it, but when I tried to watch it, it was messed up or something. I don't know.
That's probably just my old camera from college. I probably stuck it back in there when we moved. Just gonna sell it.
But I thought we didn't have a camera.
Look, doesn't matter. I'm gonna sell it. Just please put it back. Stop recording.
Fine, I'm not recording anymore.
You can still see the light.
Are you okay, Alex?
I'm fine. Just put it back, please.
You're in a really odd mood right now. Fine.
Get out right now. Jump out on the street. Get down to the street. Go. I'm going to be right behind you. Go.
This means Alex was fine and seemingly married, but something has happened that brought the operator back to him. The package itself also having a return address. Alex is clearly, or hopefully, still alive, and Jay states that he's gonna go ahead and try to find him again. This time with an actual fucking location to attempt to go to. And Jay would not upload anything to the channel for 6 months. Until he did again on November 24th. And we soon learned that what Jay found in those first few tapes was only the tip of a giant goddamn iceberg. Sorry if I sound different. I recorded season 1 in one day, and so I'm going to go and do season 2 in another. Episode 1 of season 2 starts with Jay waking up in some bedroom. He looks outside, and from what we can tell, it appears to be a hotel or apartment of sorts. And weirdly enough, Jay has a camera on him for some reason. Eventually, it cuts to some driving, and Jay explains that it's been about 7 months since the event of season 1, and he just woke up in this hotel and has no idea how he got here. He doesn't know the town or where he's at, and most importantly, everything that's happened in the past 7 months has just escaped his memory. Just like season 1 with his memory problems, but now it seems to have been getting worse. Upon going back to the hotel, he finds out that he was only booked there for the night, so he decided to extend his visit. Jay eventually decides to search the hotel and finds a pill bottle. The medicine itself is ibuprofen. It's used to treat, these. I guess Jay was having some shit going on or something. Jay also finds some clothes and a flashlight, and also finds a key. Wait, hold on, he put that in all caps. He also notices a safe near his bed, and it seems to have a code that goes to it, but he obviously can't remember it. and after putting in the failed code so many times, it will lock for 15 minutes. And notice how he puts 1, 2, 3, 4 at first. I promise that will pay off. Eventually, Jay decides to go ahead and check out around the place and has a conversation with a woman named Jessica.
What's that?
What's what?
What's that under your jacket?
Oh, this is it's a camera.
What's it for?
You know, making videos of things. It's for a documentary. I'm shooting a documentary.
What's it about?
Hotels.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So.
I'm Jessica. Nice to meet you.
Jay.
Jay.
What?
Just sounds familiar. I don't know.
How so?
Have you been in something I've seen?
Unless, you know, I've done something I don't know about. Yeah, so I guess it's kind of a common name. But yeah, I mean, I gotta get going.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it was nice to meet you, though.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
As Jay states, the fact she remembered his name, or at least was able to slightly recall it, is very strange. And he also explains that he has not seen anyone else in this hotel but him, staff, and Jessica. And conveniently, fucking Jesus, I can't English today, man. Conveniently enough, they are both in a room next to each other. And as we see later, their rooms are literally connected between a door. Like, their rooms are shared, essentially, so it feels a bit weird they're both there. Although, for all we know, she's been here and just... me and Jay are just looking a bit too much into this. And one quick last note is that Jay states that with the security camera he sometimes hears noises that seem to be next door. And they're very strange noises, too. Also on the same drive, for his security footage, he finds a file named No Entry, which just shows this. In the next entry, Jay states that yesterday, the day before he uploaded this entry, he went and got some groceries. And this little conversation happened.
Hotel Hornet.
A what?
I mean, people don't normally bring groceries to hotels.
Well, you know, I guess not.
What are you doing here? You've been here for a while.
It's my house.
A hotel?
No, not like my house. It's being renovated.
Oh.
So, like, I'm staying here until it's fixed. So, yeah. I mean, what about you? Like, you've been here a while.
Got kicked out.
You got kicked out?
Mm-hmm. So I'm just, like, here till I find a new place.
Oh, okay. Why'd you get kicked out?
I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to get to work.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, two things I really quickly want to point out here. One, Jay seems to have completely forgotten about his little fake story about making a documentary. And two, Jessica for some reason believes it and just forgets he ever brought up the whole documentary thing. Eventually, he states that later that same night, he heard strange noises coming from Jessica's room and finally went to go talk to her about it.
What is it?
Are you okay in there?
Yeah.
I mean, I just heard some loud noises out there coming from your room.
I just woke up.
Really?
Yeah, why is there a camera in my face?
Oh, man, I was just shooting some stuff in here, and then I heard these voices coming from your room.
I'm gonna go to bed.
After that pretty odd conversation, Jay states he's been trying to look for the location this showed up in No Entry, but has been to no avail. However, he did find a place that could possibly have this same path. It's a place called Rosswood. One half of it is a park, and the other half is winding forest trails that go deep within the woods. I can only see this ending well. It's not like the operator has been almost solely seen in areas near the woods. Also, in this same entry where he goes looking for the place of no entry, there's this, I really love the way it was set up. There's this person following him, and it really builds this tension of, is it a person that's brainwashed, like the guy with the mask? Is it somebody wanting to hurt him? And it turns out it was just some random guy with some earbuds taking the trail, just like Jay. But even after exploring for a good while, Jay sadly still can't find that strange area. He decides to head back to the hotel, and then this conversation starts, and his little fake story is very clearly not working anymore.
What do you want?
Nothing. Well, okay, this might sound weird, but do you know anything about the parks around here?
Parks?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few of them. Any in particular?
The one, it's off of, what's the road? It's called, Rosswood Road, I think.
I don't know.
No, it's actually called Rosswood Park. It's pretty big. Have you heard of it?
I mean, I may have been there as a kid, but nothing comes to mind.
Nothing at all?
No, why are you asking?
I'm just curious. I mean, I just got here, so I'm looking for a good area to start looking for an apartment or something.
Just got here?
Yeah, my job relocated me, and now I'm just looking for a
No,
place to...
you told me your house was being renovated.
No, I didn't. Why would I say that?
Yes, you did.
No, you must have misheard me or something.
No, I didn't.
Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm obviously bothering you. I'm just gonna go back to my room.
Hey.
What?
Have you been feeling alright?
Yeah? Why?
Nothing's up.
I mean, I haven't been sleeping that well, but I never sleep when I'm in hotels.
You haven't been having any kind of, like, memory loss or anything, have you?
No.
Alright.
While it's not explicitly said, it seems that Jessica is either aware of these symptoms or maybe was a victim of these said symptoms in the past. Perhaps she's actually a survivor of the operator's attacks and thinks that Jay is going through whatever she went through, perhaps. We eventually get our answer. Also, a bit of the warning, during this bit, the audio gets distorted and it's a little ear-piercing every now and then, but it's fine. Compared to some parts, this is not that ear-piercing.
What are you doing?
I'm just seeing who's at the door.
With a camera?
Well, I mean, I had it in my hand already. I was
Look,
doing
Jay,
some filming.
I know you're lying. First you tell me some stupid thing about a hotel documentary, and then you tell me your house was being renovated, but then you told me your job was being relocated. What is going on?
It's complicated.
You're not acting like a normal person.
Well, what's the matter to you? You're just some stranger.
I think something's going on. I know something's going on.
Like what?
I don't know how I got here. You're the only person I've seen in this hotel other than the staff, and we have adjoining rooms. I don't even know you. You said it yourself, I'm a stranger. Haven't had any kind of memory loss at all. I think I'm going crazy. I'm losing huge chunks of time. I'm having pounding headaches and coughing fits, and I can't sleep. But when I do sleep, I think I'm sleepwalking. And I keep having these dreams where I'm a little kid and something's watching me.
Stop.
What?
Look, Jessica, I'll tell you everything. But just give me a few minutes to get it all straight in my head. I'll be in there soon. You should probably start packing some things, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have to leave tonight. Leave your door open.
Jay states he's pretty much uploading this, so if something happens to him, he more or less has something to show what happened to him before he died. He says he's pretty much done with the safe and just doesn't care anymore. Jay eventually gets his stuff ready and goes to tell Jessica that he's ready to leave. However, Jessica is gone and no longer in her room. But while he's in there, he does find the combination for one of the safes, presumably his, 1102. And within it lies a shit ton of tapes. Jay decides to, while he can, cram all of them into his bag. Luckily, Jay was able to escape with the tapes, the hard drive, and presumably whatever else he needs to upload these videos. Jay says that he's now in a location that he's not going to reveal, obviously, and is currently going through all of the tapes and footage. He doesn't know what happened to Jessica and basically refuses to go back alone to that hotel. And the next few entries are the tapes that he finds. And we see that during that 7-month period, some weird shit was going on. In the first entry, we see that 3 days after just the last entry of Season 1, Jay goes to the return address on the box that he found. However, it's just an abandoned building. On the next tape, presumably the next day after he recorded the last one, he decides to go back to the building and see if there's anything he missed. And, well...
Hello? There's nothing here. What are you wanting me to see? I'm not seeing anything.
Jay?
He definitely missed something. He finds Alex, and Alex tells him to shush. The two of them combined are able to pin down this person in the mask and tie his hands up. Jay removes the mask, and it turns out the person behind the mask all along was Tim. Yeah, that guy we saw twice in Season 1, that's him. Alex asks Jay to get him the knife, but Jay doesn't want to kill Tim. So Alex substitutes it with a fucking rock.
Turn off the camera.
What? No, hey.
He's not gonna fall.
What are you doing?
It just cuts straight to Jay driving after that. And as Jay states, this changes everything we know about what's going on right now. He did find Alex. He did find out that he was, at least as of recording, okay. And it makes you wonder how he ended up in this hotel and just what the hell he forgot. Eventually, Jay finds out that there was some corrupt footage on that last tape, and was able to mostly get it to work, albeit heavily corrupted, and he had to basically subtitle what he thinks was being said. But basically, Jay and Alex get into an argument about the fact that they broke Tim's leg with a block of fucking cement. Alex says,
I could have done worse, and I probably should have.
After this, some dialogue seems to hint by Alex that Alex sent that package to Jay at the end of Season 1, and that he was able to easily find Jay's location. Alex tells Jay that until they meet again, he just needs to lay low. After this, presumably Totheark, yep, they're back in business, by the way, I forgot to mention that. I should have, my apologies. Totheark uploads a video of some kids hanging out during a birthday party. And eventually one kid blows out the candles, and at the end, we can hear the mother say,
"All at once." Very nice, Alex.
Meaning this was footage of Alex when he was a young kid. But anyway, back to the other various tapes that Jay found in that safe. He finds one with no date, no idea where it takes place in the 7-month span, but it appears to just be him and Alex walking through the woods, presumably within the woods of Rosswood Park. Most of it, according to Jay, is just them walking, but at the end, Jay does complain to Alex in the tape, "How long are we walking?" And then Alex brings up something interesting. An interesting story.
How much do you know about this area?
Nothing.
When I first moved here, I remember hearing a story that back in the 1800s they thought this place was blessed because everything would grow so fast. They would take their worst criminals, murderers and child molesters, and they would put them on trial before God out here. They would tie them up to the trees, and the idea was that they would get stretched out, kind of like a rack. They never fed or gave them water though, so they would just die of dehydration.
Why are you telling me this?
They never cut down the bodies. They would just burn the whole tree with them still on it. They stopped doing it though after a kid went missing. And he finally turned up in the area where they would do the trials. He had been dismembered and strung up.
So, throughout Season 2's description, I will build a timeline. So, Season 1's ending, Season 2's beginning. So far, we know that at the end of Season 1, Jay did go and find Alex. Somewhere in this timeline, this entry occurred, of Alex and Jay walking through the woods and Alex telling spooky ghost stories. The next entry, according to Jay, did have a date, and it takes place 1 week after the crushing of Tim's leg. We see Alex call Jay, telling him to meet him at Rosswood Park tomorrow. Jay tries to give further context, but Alex basically just says, "Fuck you." Jay, seeing as he pretty much has nowhere to live, basically decides to sleep in the back of his car, and we see this. And luckily, the person outside the car loved Jay so much he decided to capture the moment. Eventually, the next day finally happens, and Jay waits for Alex. But Alex doesn't show up. Presumably out of boredom, Jay decides to go into the woods of Rosswood Park. Eventually, Jay seems to find what appears to be a tree growing out of some bricks, or bricks that were built around a tree. After about 40 minutes of presumably the operator absolutely butchering the goddamn camera, eventually the footage comes back. And it appears that Jay decided to go back and get his camera, but He seems very quiet, and honestly, I don't blame him after what happened. He finally sets the camera down in the car and... It wasn't Jay. This character has been ever so lovingly nicknamed by the fanbase Hoodie. I mean, it's the same as Masky, but like, same level of generic, but hey, it's cool. I personally think Frowny's a cool name. That's never going to get popular as a nickname, is it? But not only do we now have one person presumably having gone batshit insane from the operator, we have two. And I'm aware earlier I called him a henchman, but like I said kind of sort of in the intro to Marble Hornets, think of these less as slaves or workers to the operator, but more as victims of the operator. And as we'll see later on, they can't really control what's happening to them. They basically just have these moments where they just snap and then turn into these things. After reviewing all of the tapes, Jay decides to move on to the external hard drive, and as we basically find out, this hard drive is more or less Alex's, the one that belonged to Alex's camera. And we basically see what happened while Jay was getting chased by the operator in the woods, what was going on with Alex. Alex was essentially just begging Jay after getting his phone call about him being in the woods to get the fuck out the woods. Eventually, he does find Jay and yells at him for even thinking of going in the woods and asking him what he was doing. And when he asks what made him run out of the woods, Jay says that thing, and Alex replies without even asking a question, that thing's in the woods? Meaning they both know what they are talking about. Alex knows what the operator is just as much as Jay. After a bit of arguing at each other and Alex yelling at Jay for leaving his camera in the woods, they decide to head back to Alex's car. And here we pretty much learn why Alex sent that tape at the end of Season 1. He needed Jay's help, or at least somebody to help him find Amy, presumably his wife or girlfriend.
You saw what was on the video I sent you.
You have no clue where Amy is.
No.
Well, what do you want me to do about it?
Help me, Jay! Alright? Look, we have a better chance of finding her together.
Yeah, I'll help you, but today, I'm done.
Why?
Man, Alex, I wonder why he said why. I sure wonder.
Alex, wait.
What?
It's in my car.
What's on it?
I don't know, I guess the battery's dead.
We'll check it when we get to the hotel. Let's go.
The next tape shows that after Alex got Jay a place to stay, they decided to go back to Alex and Jamie's house. Or, as it turns out, their side of the house, it's a house that's split with two families. Alex goes in and searches, but sadly finds nothing. Eventually, Alex, probably desperate to fucking find out where Amy is, calls an old roommate of hers. And it turns out that old roommate was Jessica. Alex asks Jessica simply just let him know if she knows where Amy is. Alex drives Jay back to the hotel, and then we cut to Alex and his body cam, or camera. His camera, that's all you need to know. We see Alex crawl through a hole in the trees, and then... After this, it appears the operator seemingly teleports him back to his own apartment. He calls Jessica and says that he found Amy and he doesn't need Jessica's help, but we know that's a lie because, Amy's still missing. Judging by this shot of him looking in the mirror and then the next shot of him spitting blood, something has happened to him mentally that is very bad. If he hadn't already snapped prior to whatever happened to him with the operator in the woods, he's definitely snapped now. And just like before, he's gone back to those weird, crazy drawings. And just like that saying, speak of the devil, he shall come. Speak of the operator through your drawings, and he shall appear. The next tape has a very large leap in time. 3 months after Jay found Alex. Prior to this, these last 3 or 4 tapes were basically within the span of about 3 days. Now we're jumping 3 months ahead. Also, if it wasn't already apparent, Season 2 is essentially a game of trying to piece together what happened. We already know that Jay is now hiding, and that something clearly went wrong with the hotel and Jessica, but Season 2 is basically just a big mystery of what happened before. And I kind of like those stories myself personally. It cuts between a camera that Alex was using and his presumably normal camera that he carries with him. He looks outside and then begins to bolt out of his apartment.
Hey!
It appears he's chasing whoever was wearing that hoodie all the way back in about entry 41. And as we see, Hoodie and Masky are basically working with each other. And something to note that really helps to prove the point that these things don't work for the operator is that they appear to run away when they presumably spot the operator. If these two were truly working for the operator, wouldn't they, be happy to see the person or be relaxed to see the person that they're working for? We cut back to Jay's perspective. There's no date, but it's presumably after the events of trying to search for Amy. Jay appears to be breaking into Alex's apartment searching for something, and as we can audibly hear, he uses a key to get in. Presumably that key he had all the way at the start of the season. Eventually Alex comes back in and Jay attempts to hide, but somebody apparently decides to call him.
Hey Jay, you forgot your flashlight. What are you doing here?
What is this?
Shut up. Turn off the flashlight. Look out your window. Look out the window.
Oh my God. You let it right here.
I didn't do anything.
You broke into my house. I was taking out the trash. What could you possibly have hoped to find in that amount of time?
I don't know.
I told you specifically not to follow me home. What now?
I don't know. Give me the flashlight. It's not out there anymore.
As Jay points out, the fact Alex didn't run when the operator is within his home is a bit strange. And as we find out, it turns out the key doesn't actually go to the apartment. It was just a key that he found on Alex's wall, meaning that Jay still doesn't know what it goes to. The next entry takes place about an hour after Jay left Alex's apartment. And, things start off pretty heated.
What is it?
What is wrong with you, huh? Breaking into my apartment? What are you thinking?
Just calm down. I had a good reason.
And what would that be, huh?
I had a hunch.
A hunch?
Yeah.
Oh, a hunch. What did you expect to find, huh? This? You thought that some tape laying on my desk was going to be the answer to all of your questions?
I don't know, maybe.
You don't even know what's on this tape, do you?
How'd you get out of your apartment?
You know, Jay, I brought you out here because I thought you could help, but you've done nothing but make everything worse.
Yeah, really. Well, you know what? You never really gave me a whole lot to go on. I've just been wandering around waiting on you to call. It's not really a good way to speed up the process, is it? I thought I was supposed to have come out here to help you find Amy, but the way you've been acting recently, it's... They're thinking the exact opposite.
You listen to me.
Get off me.
Listen right now. It's a little difficult to try to find someone when you have psychopaths wearing masks tracking you down and people are breaking into your apartments.
Alex, you forgot to mention the 10-foot tall motherfucking humanoid creature in your home?
That did not happen before you came around.
I wanted to help you, Alex, but I've spent 3 months doing almost nothing. That is your fault, not mine.
How am I supposed to trust you to do anything when you're pulling stunts like this?
And I have still done so much more than you have, Alex.
Oh, you think you're making such a huge difference?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you can do it by yourself. Because I'm done helping you.
Good. Great. Maybe now I can do something besides waiting on you constantly. Give me Jessica's phone number.
No. I'm done helping you.
Yeah? Sorry, it's locked.
Can I just say that Jay is fucking speedy as shit being able to do that? My fat ass could not do that.
Guess you can't get your keys. Unless you give me the phone number.
$1102.
All right. Move. There's your keys. Might want to keep those in your pocket from now on.
Eventually, Jay calls Jessica and finds out about the whole thing of Alex lying about Amy being fine. Jay states that it's confusing and he doesn't understand why Alex would tell Jay one thing but then tell Jessica another. And it confuses both of them greatly. And it's starting to seem a bit harder to trust Alex. I mean, he presumably crippled Tim, now is lying to Jay and Jessica, and what else has he done? So, timeline recap. Basically, end of season 1. And then eventually, Jay finds Alex. Alex and Jay go to the woods. They do their whole thing there. Alex presumably is teleported back home by the operator and goes fucking nuts. There's then a 3-month time jump. Alex chases down the Hoodie and Masky person. Eventually, Jay and Alex get into that little fight at the apartment and see the operator. And now we're here with Jay calling Jessica. You got that? Okay, good. Jay asks Jessica that if Alex calls him, don't trust him, because he's seeming very much less and less trustworthy. And Jay states that maybe he misspoke, but he's going to try to straighten it out and see what's really going on. Maybe you should have done that before you broke into his fucking apartment. As Jay himself points out, he doubts he actually talked to Alex after that, and was more or less just trying to reassure Jessica. And as he states ominously, he probably shouldn't have called her, because it probably got her dragged into this mess in the first place. After this, Jay pretty much explains that he basically just stalked Alex, And as we see on the following tapes, that's what he did. And he would notice that the only thing really out of the ordinary that Alex would do was walk into the middle of the Rosswood's woods. And it was definitely strange. And after not really knowing what to do for a while, he decides that the only real option to find out what's going on is to follow Alex into Rosswood. He sees Alex sitting near what appears to be a giant sewer tunnel, and almost gets caught by Alex when Alex turns around, but he books it back out of Rosswood. And Jay points out that the tunnel actually looks like that weird segment from No Entry, which showed a tunnel. So we've somewhat retraced the steps of where this is. We still don't know where that forest is, though. And then Totheark states some pretty true facts. Yes, I agree, Jay has definitely made everything worse, but also, this next episode truly shows just how fucking nuts Alex as a character is. We now get to see Alex's perspective of that episode. He's fucking insane. As he walks through the woods, he keeps whispering, "Don't follow me." I know you. When nobody except Jay, but he doesn't know Jay's following him. There's no one following him, pretty much. According to Jay, Alex just sits in the tunnel for 15 minutes, and then this happens.
Hey man, you okay? Some help? I told you not to follow me! I don't know what you're talking about, guy. Ooh! Yeah,
Hey Jay, I think I know where Jessica went. As Jay states, he doesn't know who that was. Alex definitely didn't know who that was. He just fucking killed a random stranger. Yeah. And this, my friend... I can't do the... And this, my friend, is truly where Alex becomes just completely untrustworthy. Combined with the lying about Amy to Jessica and Jay, combined with refusing to tell Jay anything, combined with his very apparent paranoia, and now him killing someone. Yeah, he is not trustworthy. Eventually, Alex calls up Jay and says that, hey, I know we said we aren't working together, but I found something very important. The next entry is from Jay's perspective once again. Jay calls Jessica and says, hey, Alex is going to show me something. I'll keep you updated about what's going on. And by looking at Alex's clothing, we can find out this occurred before the weird, mysterious video that we didn't have a spot in the timeline for. Meaning, this is after Alex kills someone and after the 3-month time jump. But as it turns out, after telling the spooky ghost stories, Alex decided to stay in the woods while Jay decided to head home because it was getting dark. However, as Jay is heading back...
Hey! Stop! Stop running! What do you want?
Eventually, the next tape, presumably according to Jay, takes place the next day. Jay decides to break into Alex's apartment a second time, and is able to find that tape that Alex just snatched out of his hands. And for some reason, Jay writes down 5642. Now, I've done research, a whole 5 minutes of it. I can't find out what 5642 means. And it turns out that this tape contains footage of Alex working on Marble Hornets. Yeah, did you forget that this whole thing started because the operator was in the background of Alex's little shitty college film? Yeah, I did too for a minute, but we get to see Brian again after way too long, and it appears that they're filming a sort of intro where there'll be audio over it of the character Brian's playing reminiscing about life and the past. They're using a burnt-out hospital as a burnt-out school, pretty much just trying to avoid recording any medical equipment. Something to know is that in one spot, Brian appears to be suffering a coughing spell kinda similar to what happened to Tim and Jay that one time during Season 1.
Down more, do a few shots of this.
Okay.
Zoom down.
Hands in the pockets?
Yeah, keep the hands in the pocket. Just... Alright, I'm rolling. Good take.
But eventually, Brian is meant to just sit still for a shot, according to Alex, and then the operator appears. After this cut to black, it appears that Brian wakes up and tries to find Alex, taking the camera with him as well for some strange reason. Like, I'm gonna be honest, usually the characters having cameras make sense, especially in Season 3, because they're aware of the whole forgetting and memory loss, but there's the moments like this where it's like, why are you even recording what's going on? Brian eventually hears some coughing and thinks it's Alex, but upon going into the room, it's Tim.
Tim? Tim! Alex! Seriously, come on!
Something to know here is that is not the operator dragging him. That is Alex, and there's one reason I know this. As we see throughout the series, the operator just takes the bodies away in a snap. He doesn't even do anything, they just stop existing, pretty much, presumably being taken somewhere far away. As Jay states, pretty much, Alex probably led them here to get killed by the operator, trying to cut some type of loose end. But what knot was there in the first place? And as Jay also points out, if this was during the production of Marble Hornets, does that mean Alex was lying about everyone being dead, or was his memory just taken away like what's been going on with Jay and Jessica? Entry 52, the final piece of footage Jay is going through, and what connects this story together fully. By this point in time, Jay and Alex still fucking hate each other. Jay explains that him and Jessica were asked by Alex to follow him into the woods, because he had something to show them that would answer all their questions. Jay is still very lenient on trying to actually trust Alex, and essentially records and takes a camera with him as a, if they find my body, they know what happened, kind of backup. Alex leads them through the woods, and takes them to the abandoned building. And Alex tells them to go into a corner on the second floor. And there lies the answer to everything.
What is it we're looking for?
You wanted your answers. It's over there. I don't want to see it again.
Alex, just tell us what it
You
is.
stole that tape from me. The one with Brian on it? And I know you've been following me too.
What?
I've had plenty of chances to do this.
So you're going to kill us?
I didn't want to get Jessica involved. That's why I told her that I found Amy. That's your fault!
Alex, please!
When I gave her your mistakes, I told you never to mention him again. I told that implied not sharing him with the world.
I didn't know.
I never should have given you the space in the first place. I should have burned him ahead.
Go!
Jay and Jessica decide that they need to go somewhere to hide, and so they decide to stay at a hotel. And while there, Jay decides to steal some of Alex's camera equipment, thus explaining how he got the camera equipment in the first place. Eventually, they get to the hotel, and Alex shows that he has all these tapes of Alex's interactions, a hard drive that, as of now, he doesn't know what's on it, and the 5642 tape. And he states that he's probably going to just lock it in a safe that's in his room, and thus he asks for a password. And this is where that punchline from that joke all the way back in the first episode of Season 2 comes from.
The safe that's in my room, so I need a 4-digit combination that both of us can remember just in case you need to get in it for any reason.
Just use 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, that's too easy. That's the first thing I try.
The two of them check in, and eventually, in the middle of the night, Jessica starts screaming.
Jessica! Jessica, open the...
And then Jay wakes up the next day and records entry 27, meaning that all of this tied all the way back into the beginning of Season 2. So, to finally summarize the events of Season 2. After Season 1, Jay did find Alex, and also learned that the person wearing the mask was Tim all along. Alex kept being cryptic and refusing to tell Jay very important information while trying to get him to also find Amy, Alex's presumably wife or girlfriend. Eventually, Alex seems to snap at some point with this one encounter with the operator. The man in the hoodie, or Hoodie, and Masky, the guy in the mask, begin to stalk Alex and steal things from his house. Or apartment, house, I don't know, I might have been saying the wrong thing this whole time. His area of living. Eventually, Alex ends up calling up Jessica, asking for help, but then not too long after, calls her and says everything's fine. After this, 3 months pass. Jay, presumably sick of waiting for answers from Alex, breaks into his home and tries to steal a tape, but Alex snatches it, and they nearly die to the operator. The two get into an argument, and eventually Alex gives Jessica's phone number to Jay. Jay calls Jessica and is confused when Jessica says that Amy was apparently fine, according to Alex. Eventually, Alex goes to the woods and decides to fucking kill a random guy. Eventually, Alex calls Jay and says that he found something, and eventually also gets Jessica to come along as well, telling both of them he has the answer to everything. But upon them trying to find said answer, they're greeted with the end of a gun. Luckily, Masky shows up last minute and is able to save them from Alex. The two of them are able to go to a hotel, and eventually the operator seemingly breaks in, and thus wipes out Jay and Jessica's memory from the information that's occurred to them in the past 7 months, and thus concludes Season 2. Well, not yet. Jay says that Alex is too dangerous to still be alive. And he pretty much comes to the conclusion that if Alex had the chance earlier, he probably would have killed Jay. And he says that he's going to find Alex. While he doesn't know his location, he's never seen him leave Rosswood. So he at least assumes he's somewhere in Rosswood. He hopes that he can at least either find Alex or Jessica at the least. But as he's entering Rosswood, Jay ends up catching Tim. Tim is alive and not crippled. Jay states, just like before, he doesn't know when he'll upload the next entries. He's going to try to find out what's going on and try to see what's happening with Tim. And him and Tim get dragged into things that no sane person could ever believe. Now, before we conclude, let's try to theorize about what's going on here with the information we have. Firstly, how did the operator come into existence? I mean, it's hinted by Alex that a possibility is the whole myth of people who were tied to trees in Rosswood, and because the trees would grow, presumably so would their bones. Meaning that by the time they were burnt on the tree, they would probably be very slender in appearance. But if this happened long, long ago, like 1800s and whatever, why is the operator wearing a suit and tie? I mean, suit and ties did exist back then, but they weren't that popular and weren't that common. So it doesn't really make sense. And plus, why does he distort electronic technology? What about him distorts it? Something that could possibly be a place of origin, as a friend of mine pointed this out, is if you look at the tree with the bricks, it appears like something almost broke out of the bricks. Perhaps the operator himself? I mean, it would explain why he's there if that's essentially his birthplace of sorts. Another possible origin, although it might be dumb, maybe he's the ghost of that kid that was killed, which made them stop doing the whole tree burning of prisoner ceremony. Something else to note about the operator too is that he only shows up when cameras are on. Although this could just be simply the case of this is lost footage and coincidentally he shows up most when the camera's on. And it's either just one big coincidence, but every time something big or crazy happens, appears the operator's always there while camera's on. I mean, for example, in that scene with Amy and Alex, you know, Amy and Alex were okay and Alex seemed annoyed and asked her to put away the camera. And the operator showed up once she decided to use the camera. And something else about the way he attacks, he only seems to attack people that worked or were related to people who worked on Marble Hornets. We never see them attack anybody outside of that group. The only other person who's been attacked was that guy in the tunnel, and that was just because Alex is mentally deranged. There was that guy on the forest trail, but he just never shows up again. And he was more or less just there to kind of creep out the audience in that episode. And next up, we know who Masky now is. He's Tim. Tim was Masky at one point, but he appears to be fine now. But then it begs the question, who is Hoodie? There are multiple names that we could pick from here. Maybe he's Seth, but Seth presumably died. Sarah, but we don't know where Sarah went. Possibly Brian, but Brian appears to be killed. And the only real option we really have could honestly just be Amy. I mean, it might not be Amy, for all we know it could be. I mean, we can't really tell from body shape or anything if this is a guy or a dude, so it's one of the two. So the only real possibility here is that somehow Brian or Seth survived and went just snapped like Tim, or it's Amy, and this is a case of cruel irony here when Alex was chasing Hoodie. And while I was showing my friend Marble Hornets, shout out to him, he basically is the reason I'm making this section, he pointed out that it seems like almost no one else is usually around. I mean, there's people around, there's hotel staff, we see cars in the background, and there's other people that exist, but it feels like these characters are stuck in a sort of purgatory almost, or severely isolated. The series has this thing where it makes the characters honestly feel like they're isolated and alone, despite the fact they're in, places with people most of the time. Maybe this is a purgatory of sorts and the operator's death itself, but then it complicates things when you count the guy on the forest trail and the guy in the tunnel, along with other people and cars we see in the background. And once again, another theory from my friend here, and it's about how the operator might decide who he's going to attack. Now, for an example for this, let's look at Jay. Before all this Marble Hornet shit happened, he was fine. He just decided one day, I'm gonna look at some tapes that my friend Alex gave me 3 years ago. And after he did, everything's just started going downhill. And it seems like it only happened because he viewed tapes, which within it had the operator. And so it begs the question, does the operator only attack you if you know he exists? While it's not explicitly stated, Amy did say she tried to watch the footage that was already in Alex's camera, but it was distorted. Perhaps within the distortion itself was the operator, and that's why he showed up in their house, because she saw him through distorted footage. Tim and Brian and all of them were working on the film, and so obviously they probably checked the footage along with Alex, and that was their exposure to the operator. And Jay's exposure was watching these old tapes. Jessica is a bit more of a complicated matter. Perhaps similar to, say, that guy in the tunnel, she just ended up getting dragged into this. And before I end this, I'm gonna stop with the theorizing and just analyze some themes and just why I think this series is great. I know this is part 1 of a 2-part video, but this series, genuinely, in my opinion, makes Slender, in quotations, scary. As a matter of fact, it kind of helped to popularize certain ideas within the whole fan base of Slender. This strange illness that people seem to have after meeting the operator was most likely what inspired that whole Slender sickness. Although not proxies, and as the creators themselves state, they work against the operator, Hoodie and Masky did help to popularize the idea of people being mind-controlled by the operator to do his bidding. The whole idea of camera and video distortion was pretty much popularized by Marble Hornets. When you look at the Slender the 8 Pages in the Arrival game, the art style of Alex's drawings often is very similar to what the pages appear to have in the games. By all means, the operator more or less inspired the Slender fanbase to take some of his elements and apply it to Slender. Compared to the 2018 film or the games, this actually makes Slender feel scary, because we don't know what his goal is, and I personally find the way he attacks people in this to be 50 times more interesting. Within the original Slender lore, he mainly focuses on kidnapping and presumably killing kids. And, okay, that's creepy, but I mean, have you heard any boogie tale from like the age of 7? Slender Man's original lore more or less just sounds like a story to keep kids out of the woods.
Little Timmy, if you go out in the woods, the spooky man in the suit will kill you.
Or within Marble Hornets, we don't even know why he's attacking people, let alone the people that made Marble Hornets. Season 3 does give us some hints as to a possibility as to how the operator appeared in this group and to why he's attacking people, but it's not concrete enough. It's more or less the same as Alex's ghost story. And not to mention, here's a little fun fact for you. This entire series is about 9 hours long. The operator has 7 minutes of screen time, so he isn't in particular evolved in these events. He more or less just kickstarted them into motion, and he seems to only appear to send things in a certain direction. In a way, he reminds me of G-Man from Half-Life. Their goals are never understandable, they both look similar in appearance, and both push things for an unknown reason in certain directions. And what I love with this series is, despite the fact it's over 10 years old, the fan base is unironically still kicking and alive. Like, people still talk about Marble Hornets and make videos, edits, art, everything for this series, and it ended years ago. And I'd honestly say, it's gonna be a bit of a controversial statement. Victor Surge may have made Slender Man, but Marble Hornets made Slender Man into what he is. While sure, it's technically not the Slender Man, it definitely helped popularize concepts that, in my opinion, do make Slender kind of a scary idea. But it's a shame the only series that has ever executed these ideas well, in my opinion, is Marble Hornets. Ironically enough, the one to popularize said concepts. Now, all those theories I mentioned earlier, I imagine you want to know if they're true or not. Well, you're gonna have to wait a bit. Because the iceberg in Season 2 didn't even hit the water.